This week, we welcome Molly McLain Sterling, Director of Security Culture at Medtronic, to discuss Ambassadors, the Power in the People. In our second segment, we air the last two pre-recorded interviews from Axonius and Brinca at RSA Conference 2023. Business Security Weekly starts now.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where we explore the business of security to improve the security of business. Your trusted source for actionable insights on leadership, communication, and innovation. Get ready for Business Security Weekly.
Files are the lifeblood of business, and your employees will open the files they need to do their jobs, whether they're safe or not. With Votiro, your employees will only open files that are safe. Votiro applies zero trust principles to files and sanitizes every incoming file for your organization. Known and unknown threats are removed instantly, and the file retains full functionality, so your business is safe and productivity never slows down. And it's not just for email. The Votiro Cloud API works on web downloads, file uploads, cloud apps, FTP, and content collaboration portals. Learn more at securityweekly.com/Votiro. According to the 2022 Data Breach Investigations Report, the human remains the number one driver of breaches today, demonstrating that cybersecurity is no longer just a technical challenge, but a human one as well. But how do you manage the human risks of cybersecurity? It starts with measurement. Only by effectively quantifying human risk can organizations engage employees with relevant activities to truly change human behavior. That's human risk management. Map key human behaviors to the business risks that matter most to your organization for free by visiting securityweekly.com/living security. Welcome to Business Security Weekly. This is episode number 306, recorded May 15th, 2023. I am your host, Matt Alderman. Joining me today is only one co-host. I had two bail on me today, power outages and incident response stuff. But Tyler Robinson, he's always here to support me. Welcome, Tyler.
Good to be here, Matt. Always here for you, buddy. I may be the backup or, third string or whatever, but hey.
You bring great insights. I don't consider you third string at all. You're here more than most of us, I think, actually. Security Weekly community, our teams from Security Weekly and SC Media were on site at RSA Conference 2023, delivering in-depth reporting, analysis, and interviews from the conference. If you were unable to join us in person or didn't manage to catch our video live stream from Broadcast Alley, access all of our RSA Conference 2023 coverage, including video interviews with leaders from the community, by visiting securityweekly.com/RSAC. Molly McLain Sterling has been with Medtronic, the world's largest medical technology company, since 2007. She is currently the Director of Security Culture, reporting to the CISO. In her 15 years at Medtronic, Molly has brought to fruition a number of large ongoing initiatives, including security customer engagement processes, training reaching over 100,000 people in over 150 countries, phishing simulation programs, security ambassadors program, which we're going to talk about today, and a security metrics and analytics program, just to name a few. She is very active in the security culture community, serving on the SANS 2019 and 2020 Security Awareness Summit Advisory Board, co-founding the Midwest Security Awareness Group, and was nominated for a SANS Difference Maker of the Year award in 2022. Molly, welcome to Business Security Weekly.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, I have to confess, you've worked with my CEO, Ashley Rose, and I saw you present with her around aspects of your ambassador program. And I said, oh my gosh, I got to bring you on to the show because I need you to teach other people about what you've done at Medtronic and help them build an ambassador program. But before we go into there, I want to start with your title a little bit. It's an interesting title. It's Director of Security Culture. You don't see that title very often. Let's start with, what are the roles and responsibilities of a Director of Security Culture?
Sure. I do get that a lot, actually. when people see my title, they want to learn more about it because it's pretty cool. The responsibilities center for sure with security awareness. So that's always been the foundation. And then as we've grown the program over the last decade or so, it's expanded from security awareness to stakeholder engagement as well, and then to the metrics and analytics piece. So the stakeholder engagement piece is really making sure on another level that we have trusted relationships with all of our business partners, and that they're able to navigate through the Global Security Office with ease and as efficiently as possible. So that's a piece of that. Just the core of everything is building trust and building positive relationships, so that when we do need to negotiate or pin risks against the goods and the bads, we're able to do that with speed and decisiveness.
When you think about the stakeholder portion of this, I mean, obviously you have to build trust, but I'm sure there's sharing of information back and forth. Like if I'm a business leader and it behooves me to like know where my potential risks are in the environment. Did the stakeholder part come first? Did the metrics piece come first? Because I think metrics are a very important piece of building some of that trust and relationship with the stakeholders in the business, isn't it?
Yeah. The stakeholder piece was really interesting. It was a total move by our CISO to notice and not fight against people's opposition to security. So if this is a great way that I think about it is 4 or 5 years ago, if I would have introduced myself to someone at Medtronic, there's 100,000 people, so you're always meeting someone new. And I said, oh, I work with the security group. They'd go, oh, and they'd have that like withdrawn. I don't want to talk to this person. Now, when I say I work with the security group, they're like, oh, the ambassador program. I want to talk to you about that. It's such a cool program. So our CISO saw that about 4 or 5 years ago and addressed it head on. Instead of fighting back against it, instead of saying that's not true or whatever, he said, okay, we're going to put our stakeholders at the center of everything. And we're going to just listen and hear your pain points. And then we're going to adjust our processes and our different relationships to try and improve. And it made a world of difference. And I think our relationships and our relationships in general have just improved so much over the last 4 or 5 years.
I was waiting to see if Tyler wanted.
I am curious how
because
I was trying to find the stupid unmute from the kind of stakeholders and getting everybody on board. What do you usually advise or provide from an advice standpoint for people just getting started with kind of this new role, or even if they're not officially getting a title around this role? How do you propose that they start building those trusts and interoperability and cooperation and getting those stakeholders all on the same page with a mission? What's the starting point for that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's 2 super easy things to do. And the first one is listen. Set up sessions with the people that you need to build relationships with and just listen. Tell them, you get to vent for half an hour. I'm not going to fight against anything that you're talking about. Not going to try to defend anything. Just tell me everything that you want to get off your chest. And then continue to have those conversations and look for the themes that you see across. Are there pain points that are the same with multiple people that you're talking about? And then you'll be able to zone in on certain areas to get the best bang for your buck right away. And the second piece with stakeholders, whenever you're writing a communication or you're giving a presentation or you're trying to convince somebody of something, stop coming to it from a security lens. Start thinking of it, what's in it for them? Always ask what's in it for them. And if you don't know what's in it for them, you need to ask and you need to listen.
The business,
so you have to be a people person.
Purview and understand the business aspects of business and business pain and what the business wants. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. If you don't know, that's when you should be asking and listening.
So when did the journey start? You said 4 to 5 years ago, the journey started for Medtronic. The CISO wanted to really change the way security was perceived. So I assume you started with these sessions, right? Like listen. But then how did the program start to roll out from there? Like I want to get into some of the details about kind of what it looks like, what you do on a daily, weekly basis. But how long did it take you to go from these listening sessions to understand what people really were worried about and wanted to understand to how did you start to formalize then an ambassador program?
Mm. It all kind of happened at once. So really, I'd have to say preface the 4 to 5 years with 5 years before that, just having the traditional security awareness program. So I started as a team of one doing security awareness, got a few more people. Now I have 3 full-time people doing security awareness. From there, I took on, I believe, 3 more folks. At least right now, I have 3 more folks doing stakeholder engagement specific work, helping people, navigate through the global security office with their projects, with their risk assessments, figuring out, do I need identity and access management? Do I need cloud help? Do I need vendor risk assessment? Whatever it may be. And so with that stakeholder piece, that's when our CISO came to me and said, I want to create a stakeholder engagement role and elevate the security awareness group to include stakeholder engagement and have you report to me on my leadership team. And so I think that as well elevated it. And so this is a note for the CISOs. Our program was able to be so successful because our CISO put the human element equal to all of the technical elements and the cyber aspect. That human element had to be elevated and had to be given an equal seat at the table. And we were able to grow our program so much faster. I'd say we're probably in our 6th year of the ambassador program. And we did a complete revamp. It's been a learning process that 3 years in or so, we said, this is kind of stale. It's not quite working. And I know we're going to get into a lot of the details with the ambassador program and just how we had to shift in 2020 and things like that. But I would say probably a year in after we started the stakeholder engagement group, we started to see other stakeholder engagement groups pop up in other IT organizations. So we knew that what we were doing was worth replicating. And I think that was a good indicator.
How do you begin that conversation with the executive, kind of that top-down leadership approach when you don't have, say, a CISO that is proactive and kind of buying into this? What are the conversations and the business terminology that you would use to show a return on investment, show a worthwhile cause, and begin to build those FTEs into something that the business can use and appropriately allocate time and resources to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been really blessed throughout my career to have support. So I don't have a ton of struggle, I guess. And I think you have to show your resourcefulness. So you can't come in, our CISO often says, we don't have we're not going to have a busload of people or a bucket of money. So we have to be resourceful with what we have, and we have to be responsible with what we have, because we're taking money away from another group, within IT or within the company if we're going to be asking for funds. So as I was a team of one and I did a lot of things and got very efficient at everything that I could, and then I could say, here's the extra things I'll be able to do. This is how many more things I can do if I can have one person. And then finding, a lot of times I find internal talent. Majority of the folks on my team have had some type of experience with our IT support center or IT help desk. And those people in those situations are phenomenal resources, especially at a big company like Medtronic. They know the company really, really well. And then I can teach them security. We can teach them security awareness. But knowing the company is hard enough. And they have those connections and they have that already.
Yeah, that's great because we also talk about the whole skills gap challenge and where do you find the
Yes.
skills? You've been finding them internally, which is awesome,
Yeah.
to bring them over and then teach them the security side.
Absolutely. And I mean, they have wowed me beyond measure. My team is phenomenal.
So let's talk about the day-to-day of an ambassador program because I'm curious, like how much commitment, how much time, what are the
Yes.
activities? You said you've had to revamp the program. So kind of start out, what did the initial program kind of look like for that first year to 3 years, right? Because you said about 3 years and you had to shift.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yep.
what did the program look like then?
Sure. So it all started because I went to the SANS course on, how to build a security awareness program. And they said, you need an ambassador program. So I was like, okay, I'll have an ambassadors program. This is when I was team of one. I think I had some part-time support. And it was a ton of work. It was really hard. I would say that I had a check the box program at that point. There wasn't a ton of interaction with the ambassadors or back and forth. We would have half-hour sessions, and we're a global company and we want it to be a global opportunity. So it would all be, at that time it was on WebEx. This is when nobody used their cameras, anything like that. So it's just listening to somebody talk for an hour, and I would do it in 3 different time zones once a month. So it was definitely exhausting. We got to the point where when I got more staff and they took on a lot of those responsibilities, which was wonderful. But we got to the point where we had some issues with some folks that kept sort of trying to steal the stage when we would be having our ambassador sessions, trying to get whatever sort of agenda they wanted to get out. And it was pretty distracting. And so that was the catalyst for us to say, well, how can we make that not happen again, and not have somebody sort of like steal the spotlight onto whatever other issue they wanted to talk about. And I told the team, I want you to go out to YouTube and I want you to watch any kind of video that you can possibly think of. So we watched makeup tutorials. We watched how to change your oil. We watched how to cook spaghetti, anything, just to see if we could get our creative juices flowing. And then the folks on my team came back and gave me sort of this pilot episode, and it was so cool. It was exactly what I had somewhere floating in my mind, but they brought it to fruition. And so basically we have an episode that drops each month. And within the episode, there's interactive challenges, there's quizzes, and not annoying quizzes like we're going to test your knowledge on encryption or something like that. They're more fun. And there's one of the challenges is a scavenger hunt. And so instead of just giving you this boring list of resources, you have to go through the scavenger hunt all around the internet and intranet and find the resources, and people love it. And then we have a Teams channel, and that sounds super basic, but what ended up happening was just this sort of grassroots effort of folks just started talking more and engaging more, and positive social proof took over, thank goodness. And it was amazing. We had people so excited. We had people doing things for us that we didn't even ask for. Somebody translated all these materials into a language for their particular country and shared it with, the entire country of the Medtronic staff. People were holding sessions on their own to share the knowledge that they learned in that particular episode. And it just went on and on and on. And then we also started doing ambassadors of the month and ambassador of the year. So then the competition piece started coming in, and it's just been phenomenal. And the way we do it is from August to April is the year that you're an ambassador. And you have a certain amount of tasks and episodes and things like that to watch. And if you can complete the necessary amount, then you graduate and you become an alumni. And you're an alumni in perpetuity. And that's a separate group. And they get more advanced things. And you get to continue on in the program. And so that's just a way that we can, like you talked about that pipeline, it's growing that pipeline of we're going to start with base knowledge, and then we can expand into things like encryption and things that are a little bit more difficult, I think, for the novice to grasp.
Have you found good applications and or programs that allow and facilitate and gamify this where maybe they don't have the resources to build some of this? Obviously, Teams sounds like a great place. Someone has to manage that and handle that. But have you seen actual applications that take this ambassador idea and kind of gamify it and offer a all-in-one solution that leverages the passion that you're bringing to the table with some of the free tools?
Yeah, I haven't really. And I think it's a great point to bring up because that's one of the pieces, like when I talked about being resourceful, we don't ask for any additional tools for this. We want this program to be as low cost as possible because we're not charging anybody at Medtronic. There's no intercompany charges or anything. And it's truly a development program. You're going to advance your skills. You're going to be able to have the opportunity to put this on your resume on LinkedIn. And besides just the practical use and knowledge that you can bring to your family. So we want to make sure that it's as low cost as possible. And so we are pretty scrappy with the way that we do it. We use Teams, whatever tools we use to actually build our annual trainings and things like that. We figure out how to use those, whatever enterprise tools that are available, we'll use that. So it's a lot of kind of like scrimping and scramping and trying things. And sometimes they don't work and sometimes they do. It's really just an experiment.
So, Molly, it sounds like you moved away from Zoom sessions more to kind of pre-canned episodes and
Yes.
interaction through Teams channel. Do they still network in a live format, like a virtual meeting environment, or is everything done now through the Teams channel and through these episodes?
Yeah, everything's pretty much done through the Teams channel and the episodes, and then they do a handful of live events throughout the year. So then those are like special events, and rather than having this monthly thing that feels like a burden, it's this special thing. I finally get to interact like face to face, Zoom to Zoom, I guess, with the people that I've been talking to for the last couple of months and things. And so it builds that excitement. And we were worried that not having the live Zoom sessions on a regular basis would be a hindrance, but it has been the opposite. We had our ambassador of the year this year said he's been with the company for many, many years, and this was the first time he had ever actually worked with a truly global group. And he's out in Ireland. And so that was just so cool and meaningful that we're a global company, and this is the first time that you got to have that experience of working with a ton of different other colleagues and companies. And it's just really neat.
Positive culture. Now, do you have to be nominated, or do you nominate yourself to be an ambassador? Like, how do you get new ambassadors into the pipeline?
This is the incredible part. Before, it would be us going out and recruiting, just like anything else. Hey, anybody in the company, if you are an employee, doesn't matter what level you are, doesn't matter what role you are, anything, come and be in this program. Now we're to the point where we have such word of mouth that we have a wait list that starts basically day 2 of the year and is, 175, 200 people full waiting to get into the program. So we'll still do another push, just sort of like an announcement to make sure that everybody knows about it. But really, they're coming to us versus us going out and trying to pull them in.
That's awesome. I mean, again, positive culture.
We're astounded. Right? We're just astounded. Like, it's one of those things you have these dreams sort of in the back of your head, and then it's better than we dreamed. So we're just kind of like, just all smiles when it comes to this program.
See, this seems exact opposite from most of the security awareness training and or programs that most people tend to endure. I think is probably the nicest word I can come up with. But having this replace many of the traditional security awareness, security training, the things that people just have to endure and muddle their way through, I think this is a much better approach that actually provides value at the same time of kind of checking that box for the security awareness and yearly training that everybody's always having to dread.
Yeah. And to be fair, we do that too. We have our compliance type training that covers a huge amount of topics in a very short window that everybody does, that's translated into 25 languages or whatever it is, and deployed. This, though, builds that personal relationship with the folks that are in it. And it's so cool to read the feedback. There's people that have said, oh, I got this email and I knew what to do, and I verified with my bank and I stopped this. And I'm like, you stopped a crime. You stopped a crime from happening because you were able to learn the things that you did in this and protect yourself. Somebody will talk about how it impacted their family because they shared this information with their family. We'll have people that say, oh, now I know who to talk to within the global security office for all of the project needs that I have. That's great, because there's a lot of people. There's 100 and some people within the global security office, with many different specialties. So having that ability to say, okay, I know I need to go to this group for my needs. It just speeds everything up, makes us be able to be so much more efficient and business focused.
It's amazing. Now, obviously, you delivered a lot of this remotely over the past few years. Does the program shift to some live in-person stuff now that people are, it sounds like you're going back into the office a little more?
Yeah.
Like, does that warrant, some changes in how people network and get together? Like, will you see live events?
Yeah. So we're right on the cusp of experimenting. I'm really big into experimenting. Like, let's try it. We like to rock the boat a little bit. We like to be first out and fail fast and just kind of keep trying things until we get it and something clicks. And so my team informed me that we are having a live ambassador meetup in Minnesota tomorrow, I think it is. So we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. I'll report back. But I envision something like that with our alumni networks in a lot of different areas around the world. And our dream, someday we'll get it, is to bring all of our ambassadors and alumni together for a conference every year. Someday, we're going to keep dreaming, when budgets allow, that we'd be able to do that.
Well, I think that's great that you use, because you have so many alumni probably now, 6 years into the program. They're all around the world. Doing regional meetups is a great way to get all the regional folks together. And then, like you said, if you can extend it into one time a year to get everybody together, that would kind of be a cool little conference.
Oh my gosh, I'll probably cry. Like, I would just think it would be like so amazing to see all the different, just the diversity of knowledge, of thought, of life, of roles, all having the same mission, and makes me excited, hopeful.
Tyler, I have one more question for Molly, but I wanted to see if you had any additional questions before I ask this one final question.
I think the only other question I was thinking about was, from an organizational standpoint, have you seen this position fall underneath of any other executive that either makes sense or does not make sense as far as beginning to build this program and structure it and having the top-down leadership support? The CISO makes a lot of sense. CTO obviously probably makes a little bit of sense, but have you seen this done differently between other organizations where something else might fall into line with a different group, maybe HR or one of the others?
Yeah, I think, regardless of where it falls, it needs to partner really well with HR and security and communications. So whatever skill set or wherever the structure lands is probably less important than who you're going to make those strong relationships with. But I do think it's really great to report to the CISO. I think it's just such a phenomenal opportunity to be able to hear and listen the challenges that they have from the technical side, and try to bring that human element to it. It's such a fantastic learning opportunity.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, HR would be the other potential area for this. But so my last question, if there's one thing you could change early on, what would it have been to get to where you are today, to maybe even speed the process up a bit?
Great question. I would say that just knowing that we don't have to do it live. I definitely thought we had to do it live, and that was the only way that we were going to get really connected with our stakeholders. But switching to that come as you are and come as you can, that really, really helped.
That's awesome. Molly, thank you so much for joining us on Business Security Weekly.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
We're going to take a quick break and then air 2 pre-recorded interviews from RSA Conference 2022.